She used to think kindness was her strength. The kind of quiet, unshakable kindness that made people open up to her on buses, trust her with their secrets, and call her sweetheart with a smile. So when she downloaded the volunteering app one cold Thursday evening, it didn't feel strange. She liked helping. She liked being needed. That's how she matched with her, Alara. Alara's profile was simple. No fancy words, no dramatic appeals. Just, we run overnight shifts at the shelter. Paperwork help needed, kind people welcome. The photo showed a woman in a worn gray sweater, hair loosely tied back, a tired smile softening her sharp jawline. There was something gentle in that face. The kind of face that made you trust without asking why. The first night didn't feel like the beginning of something dark. It was almost warm, the kind of tired warmth that clings to old buildings that have seen too much. She folded clothes. She labeled donation boxes. She listened to Alara joke about how the coffee tasted like dust. There were a few other volunteers, quiet, friendly faces who didn't say much but nodded when she spoke. The clock slid past midnight without her noticing. One by one, the others began to leave. She didn't think much of it until she looked around and realized it was just her and Alara now. She asked, half laughing, half curious, "Where'd everyone go?" Alara's voice was soft but carried like a wind through an empty hallway when she replied, "They already did their part." Then she turned the lock on the front door. There was a small, clean click, just that sound. It shouldn't have meant anything. She told herself it was protocol. Safety. Shelters have rules, she thought. This was just one of them. But something in the way Alara's hand lingered on the lock made her chest tighten. Alara started humming. 3 notes, over and over again. It was a soft hum, but it wasn't pretty. It was the kind of sound that makes your brain lean in, trying to understand what it means. The ceiling light flickered once, twice, then began pulsing like a slow heartbeat. Alara placed a photo album in her hands. It was old, the leather cracked like it had been sitting in some forgotten drawer for years. When she opened it, the air changed. Thicker, heavier. Inside were photographs. Dozens of them. All volunteers. All faces she didn't recognize. Under each name, in messy black ink, was the same phrase, kind enough. Her mouth went dry. She laughed, the kind of laugh people use when they want something to make sense. "What does this mean?" she asked. Alara didn't blink. The emergency exit light caught in her eyes, and for a split second, they didn't look like human eyes. They looked like glass, like something that reflects rather than sees. Her lips curved in something between a smile and a warning. "Kindness feeds the house," she whispered. She reached for the door. It didn't move. Her phone had no signal. The humming was louder now, vibrating through the walls. Alara tilted her head slightly, as if listening to something only she could hear. The photo album fell open again. This time, the last page wasn't blank anymore. Her name, written in shaky, uneven handwriting, filled the space at the bottom of a fresh page. She hadn't written it. She hadn't even touched a pen. But there it was. Alara stepped closer. She smelled like something metallic. The air around them thinned, like the building itself was breathing them in. "It needs to know you care," she said softly. Her hand brushed against hers, warm, too warm. Then everything went black. She didn't remember falling. She didn't remember anything except that hum echoing inside her skull. When she opened her eyes, the sky was bleeding light into the fog. She was lying outside the shelter. Her car keys rested on her chest like someone had placed them there. Her phone buzzed weakly in her hand. There were 87 new photos in her gallery. In every single one, she was standing next to Alara, smiling. Her smile looked wrong, like a reflection stretched into a shape it shouldn't take. The police checked the shelter later that morning. It had been abandoned for over a decade. No night shifts, no volunteers, no Alara, just broken windows and empty rooms. She told herself it was a nightmare, a hallucination, something that could be forgotten if she didn't speak about it. But deep down, a part of her knew, some things don't end just because you wake up. 2 weeks passed. She ignored the memory like a bruise she didn't want to press on. She deleted the app. She stopped driving past that part of town. She told her friends she was just tired, but some things don't stay buried. Not when they've written your name down. The notification came at exactly 11:47 p.m., the same hour Alara locked the door. Alara invited you to another shift. She says you're still kind. She stared at the screen, her fingers frozen above the phone. There was no way. The shelter was gone. She had seen the cracked walls, the burnt sign, the silence. She hadn't hallucinated that. She didn't click accept. She didn't click decline either. But that night, her dreams smelled like copper again. 3 notes hummed in the dark. She woke up with a bruise on her wrist, perfectly round, like a fingerprint that didn't belong to anyone human. The next day, she told herself she was just tired. Trauma does things to the mind, she thought. She even laughed at herself in the mirror. But then she noticed it, the same photo album, not the real one. A picture of it printed out and slid under her door, her name circled in red. She moved out of her apartment. She thought if she left everything behind, it would lose her trail. But Alara wasn't following like a person. She was following like a place, like a house that moves. The first time she saw her again, it wasn't at the shelter. It was on the bus. Alara was sitting across from her. Same sweater, same tired smile. The lights flickered above their heads, humming. She blinked, and Alara was gone. The air still smelled like copper. She stopped taking buses. She stopped leaving her house after dark. But the world isn't kind to people trying to run from something that remembers their kindness. One night, there was a knock on her door. 3 soft knocks. When she opened it, no one was there. But at her feet lay a volunteer badge with her name carved deep into the plastic. She never had a badge. Not that night. Not ever. Her phone began to vibrate violently. Alara invited you to another shift, over and over again. She powered it off. The humming didn't stop. It came from the walls this time. She pressed her hands over her ears. She whispered, "I was just trying to help." And somewhere, faint and soft, she heard Alara's voice respond, "That's why you're perfect." Her apartment light flickered. Her reflection in the dark window stretched and bent like something was moving behind her. She doesn't remember what happened after she turned around. But neighbors found her outside at sunrise again. No coat, barefoot, her volunteer badge hanging around her neck like it had always belonged there. The shelter still stands, but it isn't where it used to be. Some say it moves. Some say it calls. And some people are just kind enough to answer. What would you do if it were you? Would you open the door or would you walk away? Share your thoughts in the comments, support this channel, and tell me, what would you do if kindness itself came calling in the dark?